Hi again, this video is for Chapter 5. I'm going to try to quickly explain it, hopefully in 5 minutes or under. But this really, I have a lot to talk about in this chapter, so I don't know if I'll get there quite, but let's get started. So this chapter really is about the beginning of Scout getting left behind by Jem and Dill. So Jem and Dill are boys, and Scout's a girl, and she's the youngest, and so it's kind of natural that the boys start hanging out with each other more and leaving poor Scout behind, whereas before Dill came, she really got most of Jem's attention. So what she does is, well, it's actually pretty funny. On the first page of the chapter, she talks about how Dill used to pay attention to her and said that he was going to marry her, which obviously they're kids, so not going to happen. But and then he forgot about her completely. And she says that on page 55, she's talking about that, and she says, "Well, I beat him up twice, but it did no good. He only grew closer to Jem." So she thinks that beating up Dill is going to make him pay attention to her. That's typical childhood immaturity stuff that, of course, Scout's still experiencing because she's very immature at this point. So anyways, she moves closer to Miss Maudie, who is someone, as the chapter explains, Miss Maudie is living across the street. I can pull up that neighborhood that map that I had stolen from somebody else who made it online and colored it in really nicely. So again, this is where Atticus lives, and Jem and Scout, and so across the street is Miss Maudie, and this is who we're talking about, and they typically have Jem and Scout have played in her yard a lot, as long as they didn't bother her, but didn't have very many interactions with her until now. And Scout, being left behind by Jem and Dill, starts to strike up a relationship with her, and she even gets Miss Maudie to stick her teeth out at her. That's what she means by bridge work, and she's like, yeah, that cemented our friendship when she did that. So Miss Maudie starts making them cakes, and they start realizing that she's pretty cool to talk to. On page 57, they start talking about Boo Radley, and that's part of the discussion question. So on the Chapter 5 discussion question, it says, in this chapter, Scout spends more time with Miss Maudie because the boys leave her out. When Scout asks Miss Maudie if Boo is crazy, Miss Maudie says, "If he's not, he should be by now. The things that happen to people we never really know. What happens in houses behind closed doors, what secrets," and that's on page 61. And I'm asking you what Miss Maudie means by that. Is she saying that she thinks Boo is crazy? And so this is where we really start to see that discussion come into play. They talk about one thing I wanted to kind of point out, because this is, I think, what a lot of students miss. On page 59, Miss Maudie says that Mr. Radley, and she means the father, Boo Radley's father, is what she calls a foot-washing Baptist. Now, that is not a formal term. It's not something that you would normally say. What she means by that is that he is a very strict Baptist. He's very strict about his religion, and I know some of you guys have noticed in Chapter 1 that the Radleys actually didn't go to church, so we can assume that they worshipped at home. What's also you should note is that Jem and Scout and Atticus are Methodist, and so they actually don't see Miss Maudie in church at all because she's a Baptist, and so even though they're both Christians, they worship at different churches, and that's actually important in this community, whether or not you're Baptist or Methodist. And so they talk about that, and Miss Maudie says that she, spends time outdoors, and she spends time on her flowers, and she says that other people, foot-washing Baptists, as she calls them, who are really strict about their religion, they think that she is sinning when she's gardening and all of that, and so that is what she means by that. And I just wanted to point out also on 59 a paragraph I'm going to read to you about Miss Maudie, because she is an important character. And let me pull up a little picture of her. Here's Miss Maudie from the movie. She's not as important in the movie, which is unfortunate. If you just watch the movie and not read the book, you're really missing out on this important character. So anyways, this is what she says about Miss Maudie on page 59. My confidence in a pulpit gospel lessened at the vision of Miss Maudie stewing forever in various Protestant hells. True enough, she had an acid tongue in her head, and she did not go about the neighborhood doing good, as Miss Stephanie Crawford. But while no one with a grain of sense trusted Miss Stephanie, Jem and I had considerable faith in Miss Maudie. She had never told on us, had never played cat and mouse with us, and she was not at all interested in our private lives. She was our friend. How so reasonable a creature could live in peril of everlasting torment was incomprehensible. So, really the point of this is that Scout and Jem have a lot of trust and a lot of faith in Miss Maudie. There's another picture I found, which I'm just going to show you. I don't know who made this, but it's kind of funny to me. If she saw this picture, Miss Maudie, of herself, she definitely would not be impressed. So anyways, that's just some background on Miss Maudie. Hopefully, this kind of directs you, after this conversation, and really, if you want to try to answer the discussion question for this chapter, chapter 5, look up page 60 and 61. To kind of answer, what does Miss Maudie think about Boo Radley and whether or not he's crazy. And hopefully that will make a little more sense to you after focusing on those pages. The last part of this chapter, we've got Jem and Dill who really want to contact Boo Radley. They're obsessing, and this is really what they're doing. What's going on? Oh, it won't open that picture. This is what they're doing when they try to, when they're leaving Scout behind. They're basically trying to figure out what's going on with Boo Radley. So we've got, this would be Dill because he's the little one with the shorts, and this is Jem, the bigger kid, and they're just really focused on getting Boo Radley to come out. And so they come up with this plan that they're going to stick a letter on the end of a fishing pole, and so they're going to, I guess, not even string it, but just kind of stab it at the end of the fishing pole. And Dill and Scout are supposed to be the lookout while Jem tries to deliver the letter. Now, I usually ask people to visualize how this would work out if you were going to try this. Imagine that you had a fishing pole that kind of looked like this, and you stabbed a letter at the end of it, and you're trying to deliver it to a windowsill. Is that actually going to work? First of all, it's not really long enough. Fishing poles aren't that long. But second of all, how are you going to get it off the end of the fishing pole once you get it to the windowsill? It's not like you can actually, reach the letter to pull it off the pole. So it's a dumb idea. It's a dumb plan. And as Jem is trying to get this letter on the windowsill, and really all the letter does is ask if Boo Radley if he wants to come out, Atticus comes along and he catches them, and I think it's kind of funny. I don't think this is in the movie, so you really do have to visualize it, but if you think about it, it is funny. So Dill has this little dinner bell that he's going to ring whenever he sees somebody coming. So he sees Atticus coming, and instead of ringing the dinner bell so that Jem can hear it and hide, he rings the dinner bell right in Atticus's face. So if you picture your Atticus coming down the street, and probably Atticus would be coming from downtown, from this way. You're just coming down the street, minding your own business, and this little squirt of a kid comes up to you and starts ringing a dinner bell in your face. Atticus is no fool. He's going to figure out that something is up, and so he's probably going to see right across, I'm pointing to the screen, you guys can't see me point, right across the Radley lot here, that Jem is up to something. So obviously he figures it out. And he also tricks Jem into admitting or fessing up to the games, and I explain that on the discussion question itself. So if you need some more insight into the conversation that they have at the end of the chapter, then read the discussion question even if you don't answer it. I actually recommend that you do read all of the discussion questions because I try to give you some help on them. This video is way over 5 minutes. I'm getting close to 10, so I am going to stop talking now. Bye.